All right, let's chat, shall we? I have been wanting to do a series for a little while where I can go a little bit more in depth, a little bit more personal. So I really just wanted to sit down and hit record. So here we are. I think I'm going to call this series Leo Lounge, the Leo Lounge, Leo Lounges, late night chats with Leo. It's a work in progress. If you have any ideas, let me know. But what I wanted to talk about tonight is you will only go as far in your life as your slowest, heaviest part of you. This has been coming up for me personally very intimately. And it's been something obvious that I've talked about a lot, but it's been a huge revelation in my personal life because recently I have been taking the spiritual awakening process a whole lot more serious. I really used to meditate just to relax, just to calm my mind and to be in more connection with myself, and that's fine. However, I think as you progress through the healing stages, you become more and more serious about what the hell you're doing. And for me, this involves taking a look at my spiritual practice and the growth and look at, okay, what stage am I in and where am I going? I actually never really knew fully that there was a map to awakening. Like there are models, there are stages, stage 1 through 20 something. There are a lot of people that have created beautiful stepping stones. Okay, here's unity consciousness, here's cosmic consciousness, here's oneness, here's God consciousness. And there are practices and steps to work through this model one at a time. And you use specific techniques to get yourself from one stage to the other, and you know a general idea of where you've been, where you are, and what's coming ahead with detailed notes and techniques and methodologies to move you through the spiritual awakening stages. That was also kind of a big revelation for me because really the only person I had studied in the Western world that was spiritually awake was Byron Katie. And if you know anything about her, she wasn't trying to become spiritually awake. It happened to her very out of the blue. So she's not a great model to look at for spiritual awakening because she had no language for it. She wasn't practicing. She didn't have any terminology. It wasn't part of her life until it happened upon her. And so I only recently started to find these people in the Western world that are deep in to their spiritual awakening process and using Western words and terminology and have created these beautiful maps. And so that was a huge light bulb moment for me. And I started to really started to take a good look at why I'm doing something. Why am I sitting to close my eyes? What am I doing it for? And if it is for just simple, lovely relaxation, that's great. That's wonderful. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And the next phase of this that really struck me, that is super fascinating, is that as you move through the stages of awakening, you just become more and more you. You're not learning anything new. You are stripping the layers away that reveal the next aspect of you. So the awakening process, yes, there are mantras, there are meditations, the headless way, mindfulness, watching your breath. There are these tried and true practices on this path that you can stick to and set a timer and sit here and do this for 30 minutes a day, do this one an hour a day. Those are wonderful and great. But I think what I'm learning is that they will only take you so far as the heaviest, densest part of you. Like if we are simultaneously deep in grief, deep in angst, we're taking on the weight of the world, we're feeling the politics, we have all these judgments and criticisms about ourselves or the people around us, if we're still in pity or victimhood or blame, then all of those practices are for what? For what? It's like you're refilling your cup of resources. Like I did that gut health cleanse. I did these practices that are refilling my cup. But if you're not taking a look at the elephant in the room in your life, if you've got one, for some people it's a big thing, like, okay, I really have to drop drinking. I really can't treat myself this way. I really can't be in this toxic relationship or a toxic job. Sometimes they're really, really painfully obvious. Sometimes there are a lot of small ones that add up and accumulate. But for me, there's been something in my life that I have really needed to set down and that I have been delaying because I just wasn't ready. And inside of myself, I knew I wasn't ready. And that's also important, to be honest with yourself on where you are on your path and not be ahead of where you truly are and what you're ready for. Not to avoid challenge, but I knew there would be a time in my life where spirit would tell me it is me or that. It's this or that. You're at a fork in the road. Either you choose whatever version of toxicity you've been choosing, substance, relationship, environment, partner, work. Either you choose the toxicity or you choose the higher path. I think all of us reach this fork in the road at a certain point, and I am hitting mine right now. I am hitting a really big one where I am putting down a version of toxicity that's been in my life for a long time. And it kind of just happened upon me. I wasn't setting out to do this because I knew that I trusted the divine timing to tell me instead of me dictating how this is going to look. And to come back to what I was saying about the stages of awakening, these have been happening simultaneously. I wanted to become more serious in my path of awakening, take my healing, take my spiritual road more seriously. And right after, this came through. And I know that that is not by accident. So in this reflection, I have really been thinking about how much of our spiritual awakening is really these practices, these tools. Is it the mantra that's going to get me there? Is it the mindfulness practice? If I sit and do TM at the end of my bed, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening, that's transcendental meditation. If I do that, will that take me to my destination? Maybe. But if spiritual awakening is about unlayering, if it's about shedding more than adding, then wouldn't the awakening process be more about processing? Wouldn't it be about taking the masks off, taking the armor around our heart off, putting the toxicities down, and unlearning all of the falsities that we have learned in this reality, everything our parents taught us, all of the stupid rules, go to college, get this degree, all of these systematic paths that clearly haven't gotten many of us to where they thought they would lead us to. So wouldn't we have learned by now? Wouldn't we get the point that, okay, we've watched all these people and ourselves take somewhat of a linear, more realistic path that people told us, and it didn't get us to where we wanted to go. So why would we take any of this for real? Why would we put so much weight into all of these things that society has put onto us if they don't bring us the awakening, the connection, presence, joy, and fulfillment that all of us are truly looking for? So I'm hitting a really fascinating moment where I'm looking at how can I introduce these beautiful, ancient, wonderful techniques while not using them as a version of escapism from the real things that need to be addressed. If our true nature is boundless, totally free, totally non-judgmental, then I guess I need to look at what makes me not feel free, what makes me judgmental, what makes me criticize myself and others, and what are the forms of toxicity in my life that I have allowed. You can go through all of the aspects of your life, you can go through the wheels of life, you can do this in whatever way you want. But I just feel that this combination is truly brewing something for me personally. And deep in my bones, I feel that this unlayering that I'm doing right now is going to do 10 times more for my path than any meditation, any practice, any binaural beats, any affirmations. This is it for me personally. And I think there's times for both. When there isn't a significant amount of shadow work or something coming into your world, I think it's a beautiful time to go to your practices. And I think that they kind of come in waves. You do your practices, things stabilize, something comes up, you go onto your shadow work. You do your pain processing, you do your emotional processing, you work with a therapist, you feel your emotions. None of us get out of this without feeling and processing our emotions. That is probably the number one thing that comes up in my sessions with people is it is safe to feel, it's safe to slow down, it's safe to be with myself and honor what I am actually feeling inside. That has got to be the number one theme of all of my years of hypnotherapy. That it's just obvious. We all have our versions of ways that we run from ourselves, ways that we protect ourselves from things that hurt, from the memories, from the aspects of ourselves, the stuff we don't want to remember and look at. We all have our versions of protection and barriers from that. But at some point, if you start to take this path seriously and you want to get through a lot in this lifetime, if you want to make a lot of progress, because remember, that is not everyone's intention. Not everyone wants to make a lot of progress in their lifetime. We also have to be okay with that. That is also another hurdle all of us have to get through. We start to make progress. We want to put that on everyone around us. You go to therapy, you read this book, you go to this class, take this program. Maybe they don't want to. Maybe that is not in their dharma. Maybe that is not in their life path or their blueprint this time around to do as much as you are doing. And that is okay. Your path is your path. It does not need to look like anyone else's, and your path does not need to be put on anyone else's. Just do what feels right for you. And if you feel inspired to influence others, then just be the embodiment of what you want to inspire them to do. If therapy, if anything worked really well for you, then be it, own it, walk with it, talk with it, let it emanate from every cell in your body, and let it be an invitation, an arm that goes out to someone, and when they're ready, they will grab your hand and you can walk together in whatever way that looks for the two of you. But we cannot force any version of healing onto people. So, we will go as far and deep into anything as our slowest, heaviest part. This looks like our spiritual path, looks like our success in our businesses, in our entrepreneurial efforts, in our hobbies, in our creative endeavors. Whatever lights you up, whatever thing you are sinking deeply into that you have passion and aspirations for, you must ask yourself, are there any parts of me that don't want to go there, that are afraid, that are trembling, that are hesitant, that feel that this path has a version of a threat within it? That threat could be, I don't want people to see me. I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to be powerful. I don't want the responsibility of wealth or spiritual gifts. Because let me tell you, spiritual gifts absolutely come with a responsibility. Wisdom absolutely comes with a responsibility. And authenticity comes with a responsibility, because now you have to make a decision about everything for yourself. You don't have the church or your family or society to lean on very easily for what to think about something. When you become a radical thinker, when you lean into your wisdom, you have to decide for yourself how you feel about every topic, every politic, every decision, thought, action you make in this world. And that is not easy, because it takes a lot of energy. And you're constantly scanning, is this how I actually feel about the world? Is this how I feel about this war? What is actually true for me? That takes a lot of time, energy, responsibility. Most people don't want to do that. It's easier to go, oh, well, this is what my church said, this is what the path said, this is what this book said, this is what my family believes, this is what my circle of friends do. So it's easy for me to lean into that. So yeah, becoming more authentic in yourself means finding what is true for you about literally everything. It means you cannot lean or assume the ideas of others. And that comes with responsibility. So what I see in people is they want to be free, they want to be joyful, they want to start an amazing business, they want to deepen their spiritual path, they want more presence and intimacy with themselves, they want to grow an incredible wild craft or entrepreneurial effort. And then there are parts of them that live in the past, in pain, memory, anguish, guilt, resentment, blame with parents, that say, that doesn't feel safe to us, because to go there means we have to go back here, process, integrate all of this before we go forward. And if we go forward, oh shit, we're going to be seen, we're going to be heard, we're going to be visible, we're going to have all this responsibility. We might have to be of service. Oh God, we might have to think about others. We might have to live more in integrity. I might have to drop alcohol. I might have to eat better. I might have to call my parents more. I might have to treat my body with more kindness. I might have to actually take the time to rest, because I know how I'm living with my body is not in balance. And it is easier for me to avoid that, to escape, to go into my phone, to go into substance, to go into food, to go into Netflix every night. That is easier than being in integrity with ourselves. So I will do that. And those are all of the things, those are our heaviest parts, typically. And these parts typically are formed when we're kids. When something traumatic happens, a part of us is formed. And they live in the past. And then when we go to do something big, bright, expansive, beautiful, wide-reaching in our current, moving towards our future, these ones are like anchors. They're like these heavy, dense weights that we try and pull everywhere we go, which makes everything 1,000 times more difficult. And most people think that they need to shut these voices up. They need to stiff arm them and go, you're not coming with me. I don't believe you. You're just the negative voice in my head. You're this bad character in my mind. I'm going to silence you. I'm going to tell you to shut up. I'm going to look the other direction and just focus on other parts of my life. And that only takes you so far. Because that voice, that heavy part of you, that critic, the one that doesn't believe, the one that doesn't feel good enough to do these things, that voice is also you. So the more you stiff arm this voice, the more you compartmentalize another part of you, the more you fragment your own self, and you create distance instead of intimacy, which is what they need. The voice of self-criticism, of self-harm, of self-blame, of self-guilt doesn't need to be erased or forgotten or like a balloon snipped and gone into the air. They need to be welcomed into the conversation. They want to be heard and loved and cared for. They are you. And the more that we avoid them through these other things, these toxic things that come after, the more they feel neglected, and the more that they ramp up the intensity of their pain. I think of it like this lake that just sits and collects moss and mold and mosquitoes, and it starts to grow algae and all of this stuff. It's not going to clean itself up. So this is a really huge part of the process, and this is the spiritual path. Taking a look at these parts, inviting them back into a conversation. You can do this with a hypnotherapist, a parts work therapist. You can do this with journaling. You can read No Bad Parts by Dick Schwartz. There are lots of information about how to invite these in, but for now, I want you to just ask yourself, what are the voices I have been trying to silence? And if they are me, would it be so bad to invite them into a conversation? What pain are they carrying? And how can I care for this part of myself? When that process really gets going and they feel heard, loved, understood, they're like a hand that goes into a glove and they integrate into you. And a part enters the whole. And you become more of yourself. It's like you get this energy back from a lost time frame. And suddenly that voice doesn't appear anymore. The critic isn't as strong. You're not as negative with yourself. You're not as mean when you look at yourself in the mirror. You don't avoid the pain because you have processed the pain. So then why do you need all the protection from pain? Why do I need to doom scroll if I'm not lonely? Why do I need to have any version of toxicity and avoidance if I'm okay? If my baseline is good, I don't need the things that dissociate me, that fragment me anymore. I don't need the binge eating. I don't need the crazy partying. I don't need the doom scrolling. I don't need every night on Netflix, because being with myself feels better. I don't want the disconnection. I don't need it. I don't need to protect myself from my own pain anymore because I have processed the pain. So when this happens, get ready. This is when the rocket ship launches. And this is what I mean by this is part of the spiritual path. I could sit there and do the 20 minutes of meditation twice a day, like I said, or I can do this parts work. I can hear these parts out, and I can learn to process the loneliness, the guilt, the pain, the shame, whatever is lurking in the swamp. Each of us have something stewing in there. We all have different version of it, but it's all the same. It's universal. It's part of the human experience. Nobody gets out of this process. And nobody gets out of coming back here until we finish this process. That is one of my personal biggest motivating factors for doing all this. I love being here. I love my life. I love being me. But I would rather not come back here and do this 100 more times. I'm good. And if I can do a big chunk of this now, I'm going to. I mean, what else is there to do? All the other stuff is just accumulating more karma. I want less. This is the way to do it. I don't want to add more stuff to my plate to keep, oh, now I have this unfinished business with this person and that person, drama with that, and I left this job weird and I never closed this thing out. I want to close all of the loops so that when I am on my deathbed, whenever that is, I'm going to go, yeah, cha-ching. Not like it's a race. We're timeless. We just keep changing form, but this form happens to be pretty intense here, as you can all probably agree on 3D Earth. And I would love to have fewer visits. And this is the process. Picking a spiritual practice, any of them. That's another thing. I used to stress out about, okay, during this stage, should I do this? Should I do mindfulness, breath work? Should I do this meditation, DM, mantra, music, singing, humming, chanting? They're all the same. They're all different ways to lead you to the same place. We're all going to the same place. There's no different heaven. There's no different enlightenment. There's no different self-realization. A drop of water goes into the ocean, becomes absorbed. We're all going to the same ocean of consciousness. How you get there is personal to you. So choose something that lights you up, that excites you. Choose a path, a technique, a practice you will do, that you look forward to. Do that until you feel like it's taken you as far as you want to go. Go until you feel like, okay, I got what I wanted from that. Then start another one. That might be a week, it might be a month, it might be a decade. You might have to do an appetizer sampler and try a few out. Wonderful. Find a spiritual practice that lights you up. Find a pain emotional processing protocol that lights you up. It could be inner child healing, parts work. It could just be holding yourself in a ball, somatic therapy, somatic healing. It could be mirror work, looking at yourself in the mirror, talking to yourself, strong affirmations, deep questions, looking deep in your eye. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. It could be tapping. It can be a lot of things. You can do a lot on your own. You can do a lot with a practitioner. There are all these beautiful people out here that have dedicated their entire lives to supporting you during these chapters of your journey. I happen to be one of many. I'm training many because there's only one of me. And I know a lot of people are going to be needing this work because a lot of people are waking up right now. And they need practitioners of all different kinds, with all different techniques, with all different personalities and modalities, because although we're all heading to the same place, it's personal to us. It is still through our lens. God is waking up to its own nature, its own self, through your eyes, through your perspective, which makes it intimate to you, which is why some people are going to love very emptiness style practices, going into the nothingness, going into the void, losing the edges of form, being in quiet solitude. Some people love things that are very full, very active. Color therapy, looking at a flower, meditating on a sunrise, a sunset, being in nature, fullness, unconditional love, total non-judgment. Two sides of the same coin, but they tend to go in emptiness practices and fullness practices. We're all heading to the same place, but none of us get there until all of this swamp, all these parts are all integrated. The fragments have all come into wholeness. And then we change form into, who knows? To be determined on that one. So I think that's the end of my chat for this evening. Thank you if you listened to the end and joined me. If you liked this style, this is quite new for me. And I'm experimenting, I'm playing. I'm also releasing a perfectionist part and just sharing more in real time as I go through it. Happy healing, sending you a big hug, and see you in the next one.